Creating the deployment pipeline. As always, our group likes to start out with a little bit of humor. And of course, version control is a huge part of this chapter. To use version control or not? What is version control, and why is it important in a DevOps environment? Version control is a system used for detecting changes to documents, files, or environments. Each revision of these items is safely stored in the system along with important metadata relating to those changes, such as who changed it and when. Because of version control, developers and other members of the group are able to commit, compare, merge, and restore any of the information at any time. This has the obvious advantage of minimizing risk. Version control is for everyone in our value system, and if everyone uses it correctly, it becomes the single repository for truth in the state of our system. We can easily compare this with the iron rod in Lehi's dream in the Book of Mormon. By holding fast to this iron rod, the people were able to overcome the mists of darkness and the taunts of the unbelievers. When they did begin to stray from the straight and narrow way, they were able to find their way back. By using version control information wisely, we can stick to the best programming path, stay on course even when we can't see clearly, and revert back to usable material when we make errors. The similarities are fascinating. Another clear example of version control is shown here. Using the example of a document, we can see that from the original document, Bob, Alice, and John each make changes, which are noted, and those versions are saved. Once the document goes to the manager for approval, he has the option to see who changed what, and revert back to the original if needed. This is a very valuable tool in the pipeline development process. Keeping the testing environment automated is key. I don't know about anyone else, but the less I have to do manually, such as logging into servers to make changes, the better. Currently, one of our group members works in a place where he's encouraged to help process and create new workflows if needed. It goes through quite a process before they actually get to testing and pushing it into UAT. The testing, when it starts, is all automated. They create a user, and the system takes it from there in a production-like environment. If there are any errors, it pinpoints the page and problem, and they have a reference to go back and look at. This process may go on dozens of times, but when it's right, they can push it to UAT and do similar testing until it's ready for production. Not only is this extremely helpful, but it saves him time as he doesn't have to test everything individually. The test does it all for him. If there's a problem in production, they have to go back to testing in the first steps before any changes can be made in production. This is a perfect example of immutable infrastructure. When creating test environments, these environments need to be kept up to date with the current versions of production. It may be tempting to use older versions of the software. Maybe you're nostalgic. Or you may be nervous about updating the environment because it may break your perfect software. The problem with this thought is that the software needs to work in the current environment. We can't baby it and expect it to grow. We want it to be able to be free to seamlessly integrate into the system. Keeping your software from testing in the current version of our system could cause it to fail and never leave. Sometimes it's easier to rebuild something instead of repairing it. For example, when a Lego set is dropped off a table, breaking into many pieces, it's easier to rebuild the entire set rather than try to repair the damage. In the tech world, this concept is common practice. Bill Baker, an engineer from Microsoft, summed up this concept concisely. We used to treat servers as pets. You name them, and when they get sick, you nurse them back to health. Now servers are treated like cattle. You number them, and when they get sick, you shoot them. By having consistent environment creation systems, we are able to easily increase capacity by adding more servers into rotation. We also avoid the problems that arise when we must restore service after the failure of infrastructure that is created through years of undocumented and manual production changes. In order to create our deployment pipeline, we need to keep these practices in mind. Version control, automated testing environments, all environments similar to production, and making it easier to rebuild infrastructure than repair it. Having a single source of truth benefits everyone. It keeps the entire company on the same page and allows developers to create code and receive instant feedback on whether it will work in production. When operations contributes to version control and keeps the environment up to date, developers become more productive. Having access to the production-like environment is crucial. A single source of truth allows us to rebuild or recreate a production environment quickly. It also helps make rebuilding infrastructure easier than repairing it, which saves time, makes resolving problems easier, and makes it easier to expand capacity when needed. Incorporating these practices will increase productivity and the speed of our workflow.